Okay, a little bit of rousing music to, all right, so we need a little bit of time to just set up our panel. Um, no, 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 you're our guests. No, we're okay. Okay. All right, just hold on. Okay. And I think we're going to need one more chair. And then if we have a little bit of a treat at the end of the evening. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay. You want to sit down while you're playing, or you want to stand? Okay.
I think, can we use that chair to do the music so we're at the camera?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do I give Emily this mic?
I can give it a moment.
Okay. All right, panel. Please take your seats. Emily, where would you like?
Would you like me on the end or over here? Or do you want this mic?
Yeah, why don't maybe you should be on this end. All right.
It's not on yet.
Oh, okay.
It's on.
Now? Okay, great.
Oh, cool. We're going to put you in the middle.
Okay.
Put me in the middle.
Can I put here? Okay. Yeah, I'll sit next to you.
Person on this.
Do we have everybody?
Hold on. Hold on.
We're almost there.
When you're ready, later in the evening. All right.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Emily Sullenberger, Dobbins.
Great. Thanks, Barbara and Adele, Gregory and the board for inviting me today. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great, wonderful. Again, I'm Emily. I'm with the Maryland State Arts Council. I'm a program director for art services, which means I get to oversee a couple of different grant programs at the State Arts Council, one of them being the Grants for Organization program, which provides general operating support. And some of our general operating support goes right here to DOCS to make sure that the programming continues and that we have these types of offerings for you in the community and for our artists to be recognized in this way, and our cultural traditions to be highlighted. So thanks again for inviting me. I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves if we want to start there, and then I've got a couple of questions I'm going to ask folks, and then we'll turn it to you all for your questions. So how about we start down here?
Okay, I'm Jules Asher.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm Jules Asher. I'm one of the co-producers of the Singing at Sinai video. Yeah, one of the co-producers. There were three of us of the Singing at Sinai video. David is the executive producer. Rabbi David Shanero.
Hi, I'm Esther Siegel. I don't know why I did it, but I coordinated for 3 or 4 years. I don't remember how many, but I coordinated them.
I'm David Schneider, and I think the film said enough about me, so I'm not going to say it.
Thank you all. Pass to me.
I'm Mimi Diedrich. I'm the quilter.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt Frere. I'm the senior production managers with Wide Angle Youth Media, and we filmed with Mimi.
Great. Okay, I'm going to keep this mic. I'm going to have a couple of questions for you two, so why don't you hang on to that mic first, and we'll have Matt move up. Okay, great. So I have a couple, like I said, I have a couple pre-canned questions here. So we're going to start with Mimi and Matt, right? Yes, okay, great. So the Baltimore Album Quilts, which I had a chance to see that exhibition at the Maryland Center, which was I just nudged my husband. I said, I saw that, it was so beautiful. But can you tell us a little bit more about, there's such a fascinating history of the quilts, and how did you come about quilting?
Sure. The quilts, the original Baltimore album quilts, were made in the city of Baltimore between the years of I want to get it right, 1846 to about 1854. And they were made, a lot of times they were made as presentation quilts for ministers, for sea captains, and groups of people got together and made these quilts. So somewhere in the 1980s, I saw an exhibit of these quilts. It was at the Baltimore Museum of Art, and it changed my life. I had already been quilting. Oh my gosh, I've been quilting for 50 years, and I see quilting as two different types of things. There's patchwork, where you put all the little pieces together like a puzzle, and then there is applique, where you sew the pieces on top of a background piece. So I like to do applique, and that's the type of quilt that you were seeing, where you saw all the pictures of like the Washington Monument, the flowers, the baskets of flowers, all of those things. So, so when I went to see this exhibit, I went with 8 friends, and we came home and we were getting together, and I said to them, we're going to make one of these quilts. And they were like fussing and everything, but each one of us made one block. We found a pattern. Each one of us made one block 9 times. And every month we got together and traded the blocks until we had enough blocks, squares, to make a quilt. And I don't know, I was just really excited about this, and I'm the first one who finished a quilt and pushed the other ones to make a quilt. And you know, eventually we all did finish our quilts, but I went on to teach classes, and my favorite thing that I've ever done is, and I've done it for about 30 years, is teach a class that goes for an entire year, because it's not just a class where you teach for 3 hours and you get to know the people a little bit. You get to know these people, and it's just been great. Is that a good answer?
Yes, that's wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. So another question I have is that quilts can be an art form, but it can also be a storytelling piece. And stories are such an important part of our cultural heritage. So can you speak to that a little bit more about how quilts continue that cultural heritage?
Sure. I mean, there's all kinds of quilts that tell stories. The Baltimore album quilts, I think, tell the stories of women who lived at a specific time in the city of Baltimore. And there are some blocks in there. Oh, there were times, like the young woman in the film said, women weren't allowed to speak up about things. And there are certain blocks that we see them in the quilts, and we understand that they were speaking out about temperance or drinking, and maybe some other things. And I've seen some quilts that were made for ministers, and we've stood in front of the quilt and just loved everything on it and thought, wow, that minister must have been really cool, or rabbi if he was a rabbi. But a lot of them were made in the Methodist churches in Baltimore. And so yes, and so now when we make quilts, we use the patterns that were used in the old quilts. But one of my biggest things is encouraging students not to make them exactly like the old quilts, to put their own colors that they like, to put their own stories into them. And one of the first classes that I taught, I can remember a woman had a wreath of flowers, and in the middle of the wreath of flowers was a horse and a cowboy on the horse, because she said her husband always wanted to be a cowboy. And it was just great. I mean, if I saw that quilt today, I could pick it out of all the others and say, oh, I know exactly who made that quilt. So yeah, it's cool.
It's really cool. So my last question for you is that this film, you're being recognized with a Heritage Award from the Maryland State Arts Council. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And with Wide Angle Youth being a part of that process. But how do you think this acknowledgement impacts quilters to come and new generations to come up through the quilting world?
I can remember, it's probably 10 years ago, I went to an award ceremony where they gave out the Heritage Awards, and there was a quilter who won one of the awards. And I was sitting in the audience, and there was a stage, and before she was introduced, 3 quilts just came out of the ceiling, you know, like gently. And I sat there going, I want that. I want that. And in talking to the guys at the Maryland State Arts Council, they have been so fabulous in helping me get through this whole process. I'm going to say probably about 12 years ago, I think I got one of the apprentice, it's a Traditions Apprentice Award, where they give money to a master person and an apprentice to work on a project for a year. And I worked on that with my friend's daughter, who is 30 some years younger than I am. And we had a fabulous year doing that. In fact, she helped me make some quilts for some of the books that I did, which was a lot of fun. So what was I going to say? I don't know what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. So anyway, there used to be an award ceremony, but because of COVID, they stopped the award ceremony. And instead of having a ceremony, they did one of the things that I think is just the best thing, and they started producing short films about the winners. And so Matt's probably, I need him to tell you about Wide Angle Youth Media, because they are unbelievable and fabulous. Yes. Fabulous. Fabulous. Some of them are here tonight. Yes, you guys are fabulous. And I think the cool thing is that they made a YouTube video. So, you know, you can pass the YouTube video around. You can, you know, share it with other people. When we got the video, I shared it with every single person I knew, okay? Everybody I knew saw that video. In fact, I went out to, there is a wonderful place called the Quilters Hall of Fame in Indiana, and I was out there 2 summers ago, or maybe it was 3, and we took the film out there and showed it for one of the first times to, you know, a whole huge room full of quilters. It was wonderful, just wonderful. So I think that's a really a great way of passing on a tradition in these times. You know, before it would be like maybe word of mouth or a grandmother teaching a child, which is still fabulous, how to sew and how to do different things. But now it's clicking on the YouTube and passing it on to somebody.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to this, and we'll open it up for more questions, but I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to go to this side.
You're not going to let Matt talk?
Matt, would you like to weigh in on anything?
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Like we can.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah. We'll open it up for more questions as we got it. Okay. So I'm going to shift myself this way. If you all can speak to, as we saw from the beautiful documentary of the festival, it was an essential gathering for decades, right? So can you all share a little bit more about some of your most memorable moments that might not have been captured on film, or you want to uplift from the film that kind of captures the spirit of the festival, or some fond memories that you have?
Well, should I start? First, I want to thank Docs for putting this together and for really. See, just got Marcy. Where's Marcy? And is she one of the Emily? Emily, where's Emily? Where are is there an Emily? Stacy. There's Stacy. I want to thank you, Stacy. You're Emily.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's what happens with age, I guess. Who's who? What's memorable, I think, for me, what stands out is the joy that these festivals brought to the community and to those of us who worked on it so hard for months, and and also for me personally, I think it was seeing all the different elements of the community of people coming together, from secular Jews to the most Orthodox Jews in the community. It was probably the only place in town where you could feel a much greater sense of community, and that's what gave me the most joy. And in seeing people coming together. Would you like to comment?
For me, what was most memorable was the word no didn't exist. Everybody that we asked if they would contribute their music, their time, their art, everyone said yes. And that's, to me, another example of how amazing this gathering was. So for that, I mean, I have lots and lots of stories about how it came about and all kinds of things that went on. But that, to me, was the most powerful part.
I was not actually involved in producing the festivals. I remember, though, that maybe 25 years ago, I got a call on a Sunday morning from David, who said, well, why don't you come out with a camcorder and shoot some of it? And that was the first I had, that was the only plan. That was that morning, and then I went. That happened a couple of times, and that's how we got some of this footage. And that we got, there was a photographer, Lloyd Wolf, who's still around somewhere, who shot a lot of those stills. And there were other photographers. Beth Sora.
Who was very young at the time.
So we managed to pull together from everyone who we could find who was involved with this, interviewed 25 people, and that's how it all happened.
A number of you have attended. I recognize some Verbrengeners here from musical. Raise your hands if you had a connection to the Verbrengen community. Okay. See a number of Verbrengen. And how many of you have been to a Jewish folk arts festival fest? About maybe half maybe about a half of you. We did have a premiere, I guess, at the Jewish Community Center a few months ago in December of this past year, and we were hoping the Jewish Community Center would have publicized it through their mailing list. They forgot, but we had about 60, 70 folks come out. Most people who had participated in one way or the other as artists or as participants in the festival, and it was a joy to get together with everyone again. And that's what, if we miss anything, we miss this opportunity to be together with other people who have this appreciation for the arts in the deep way that we all came to enjoy and love the arts.
Right. And you, am I on? There we go. And you just started to speak to this a little bit, that the arts and culture and community connections was such a huge part of the festival. Can you speak to some of the lessons learned and the impact of the festival, what it had on today, and perhaps some additional, lessons that could be shared for future cultural festivals as well?
Would you like to take a crack at that? I think the festival the film sort of addressed that. It's clear to me when I go around the community that the festival did have an impact on many congregations, and not only here but also and Jewish people around the country. Last month, my son, who was featured in the film, attended a conference gathering sponsored by an organization called Hadar, a relatively new organization in New York City. Some 200 plus, singers, musicians, composers came together to share, their works with each other and to sing together. And we see song circles, happening all over the country, and this is something that, didn't exist in the 70s and 80s, and we see in synagogues and temples and chavurot, the chavurot are more like cooperative Jewish communities, where, musical instrumentation is now a regular part of music and the congregation, and the way it presents not only celebration of holidays but also the Sabbath, for example, and so it's had that influence. You find more and more synagogues, exhibiting Jewish art, the art of local and beyond local, but also local regional artists. And you're all welcome, by the way, to come to the Am Kalil Center. We have a room dedicated to the Jewish Folk Arts Society that we opened just this past year. We have 21 or 22 local Jewish artists represented, in our art gallery, and hopefully, if we can find some additional staff people to have monthly programs devoted to the arts in that way. So I hope that sort of answers your question.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I know you asked folks to raise hands if they've attended the Jewish festival or a Jewish festival, but for those who have not, what would you like them to take away from this film in particular?
Well, I hope maybe it opened your eyes a little bit to, something about Jewish life that you perhaps didn't really know much about before, and found it maybe enriching because, many of us have a singularly focused, understanding of maybe the Jewish people or how Jews practice. Is Judaism a religion, or what? You have to be religious to be Jewish. Those kinds of questions, and what does Jewish identity mean? And you can see that Jewish identification is much broader than a set of beliefs. You see, and I hope maybe that's something that people can take away with them. Of course, the arts and the culture, reflect values. The values, in our tradition, they just come through in a much more creative, inclusive way.
Absolutely. Thank you all. I'm going to open it up to any audience members.
We're going to wait for my. Can I have the prerogative of asking the first question?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Matt, I'm putting you on the hot seat.
Yes.
All right. So, from one arts organization to another, talk to us about what Wide Angle did and how the young people worked on the project.
This one?
Sure. Hopefully, don't have too much feedback. So, Wide Angle Youth Media, we're based in beautiful Baltimore, Maryland, and we're a social enterprise that offers free programming for youth ages 10 to 18. And then our young professionals, the cohort I'm part of, which these 5 young professionals back there are some of our young apprentices and filmmakers. They are, it's an accredited apprenticeship, and they get all real world experience to create actual projects like this one we did with Mimi on the album quilt. And so our young people are part of the entire process. I'm really here to quality control, to keep people online and to make sure we're hitting our deadlines and that we can put out the best quality work that we can. But really, the glory goes to all of our young people that really do all the work, from everything from the pre-production to the production and the post-production. And so I'm just really happy to be able to be involved. And Patrick, one of our board members, is here as well, and we have so we're representing Deep, and I'm happy to. Did that answer your question? I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right, I think there was a question there. Hold on. You have to have a mic, please.
David, does my face look familiar to you?
Yes, especially your nose. That's really, no, I'm kidding. Your face does look familiar. It's
The
been
nose.
50 some years since
That's right. What happened is, I was invited to a dinner at your house 50 years ago. And I decided I'm going to wash the dishes because maybe they'll invite me back if they said, hey, this guy washed the dishes. So I washed the dishes. She took note. 52 years later, I'm still washing dishes. 3 children, 7 grandchildren, 4 in Israel, 2 in Philly, 1 in Boulder, Colorado.
Wow.
So thank you.
Mazel tov.
And it was all through this guy because I was working as a waiter at Gusty's restaurant, 19th and M. And one day, he wasn't at my station, but
Who are you pointing to? What's his name?
Mike Tabor.
I know who his name is. Okay.
Good. So he's sitting at a table, not my station, and he's wearing one of those green army fatigues that all lefties used to wear. And it's got a peace pin on it. So I walk up to him and I said, so what do you do? And he says, I work for the government. I said, you work for the U.S. government? You weren't in that? And he said, yeah. I said, oh, my God. So he talked about JUJ, and he said, you'd be a good fit. You ought to come to a meeting. When does it meet? Wednesday night, 7:30 at the Fabringen. So I work here. Thank God I got fired about a week later. So I went to the meeting, and I washed the dishes, and I'm still doing it.
See, and you look great. You look great for doing all that. Mike Tabor, by the way, was the founder. Mike Tabor was the founder of Jews for Urban Justice in the '60s civil rights group. Then morphed into a major Jewish anti-war organization, and it's within the Jews United for Justice that I mentioned on the film that I met Rob Eggers, the son of a rabbi, who had this idea for creating a Jewish counterculture center, and Rob and I teamed up, and the rest is history. I have a question for you. Why a circle? Why wide lens? What's it called again?
Wide angle youth media.
Wide angle youth media. Now, you're talking and wide angle. So why do I know the name Wide Angle? Because you were involved in creating the Kosher Kitchen documentary. Because some of us were members of the Kosher Kitchen Collective. The title of that movie, that film, also about the same length, was Making Matzo Balls for the Revolution.
Oh, wow.
We were a collective here and trying to create a revolution in the Jewish community. So yeah, thank you. Great. I forget the name of the director.
Susan Malone.
Oh, yeah.
And someone else. There's another one.
David Sloan is actually the one that did that film. He's our production director.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
What a connection, man. That's great.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Anyone?
Oh, come on.
Wait, let me go round, get as many new people. There you go.
Yeah, hi. I was going to mention about the explosion of music, Kabbalat Shabbats that are musical, and I'm glad you mentioned that choirs and, in my personal life, I've experienced this transition, which germinated from this what you did. But the only comment I wanted to make was my parents went to a concert. The headliner was Theater Bickel. It was New York City Central Park.
Oh, wow.
And they said the Fabringen fiddlers killed. They were like,
The Fabringen Killers. That's right.
It's like, that's what they talked about. Not Theater Bickel. They talked about you.
Yeah, can I say something about that? Because that was, this was outdoors, thousands and thousands of people. We were invited to open up for Theater Bickel. We were invited to open up for Theater Bickel. It's a great honor, a great kavod, in Hebrew. And what happened? It looked like it was going to rain. Okay, so they said, listen, is it okay? We're going to put Theater Bickel on first. Okay, put Theater Bickel on first. So, in fact, it didn't rain. He opened for us. Okay, he opened for us, and it was an amazing event. And what? That's outrageous that they. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, I think Anne Marie.
I have a question in the back.
Back here, and then we'll continue.
Okay, this is for my lady who made the quilts. What was your favorite story? What was your favorite story from the quilts that you've seen? Like, what was your favorite story that you've seen?
Oh, wow. Okay. My favorite story. This is from teaching people how to make quilts and having them make quilts. And my favorite thing that happens every once in a while is somebody walks up to me and says, "I finished my quilt. You changed my life." And when I hear that, it's like, it's kind of like I know what they're talking about, but I think it might have given them purpose. It might have given them, a reason to make something because of something that happened in their life. I had a woman who came to my class and never made anything. She came with a friend, and they came from the Eastern Shore, so they weren't local. They were coming quite a way. And every month, the two of them showed up. One made a quilt, one made nothing. And, you know, I always felt like, oh, it's okay, you know, whatever. But I found out later that that woman just couldn't make anything until later she made something because she had a child that had died before that, and her friend was dragging her out of the house to, you know, come and do something. And I think that's one of the things that's wonderful about all of the arts, just everything, that it's beauty when there's, when you're really low about something. And thanks for asking that question. My husband's up here saying the wonderful thing about quilting is you can stick needles into things. Not him, but what I found fabulous about Wide Angle Youth Media was when we worked together, I was astounded at the homework they did. They knew all kinds of things about me that I didn't know they knew. And they knew how to ask questions so that they would really, like, they'll ask you about quilting, something like that, and then they'll dig a little deeper and they'll get you to talk like I've just talked right now, where you're really talking about, the emotions and how you feel about things, and how what you do makes a difference. And it's all very important.
Thanks for sharing that.
Okay, I have a question right
There's
here.
one up front too.
Oh, okay, we'll go here and there.
Who's first?
There you go.
Good, very good productions there, and I compliment you both. I'm going to ask a question that kind of relates to both of your productions, so put on your thinking hat here. I'm going to use the term mosaic. Mosaic, that's very related to quilting in a concept. Also, different artistic productions, when brought together, can be a mosaic too. Also, I'm a great promoter of new technology, or technology that allows you to express stories and ideas in ways that you couldn't really do very well before, but new technology has a positive sense. Can you visualize sort of a mosaic, a quilt in the broad sense, and folk song kind of representations, folk songs in a broad sense, including folk rock and so on, modern popular music, being presented in a way that can be experienced interactively like a quilt, so they can the observer, the person who is actually experiencing the art, is experiencing the art interactively. And the artists themselves have put together a very innovative way of categorizing the various aspects of their art. What sort of a mosaic compilation would you think could combine both of your efforts?
I could say something about that. I think, if I understand you correctly, I think that's what our band, called the Verbringen Fiddlers, has been about. We've been creating that mosaic of Jewish music. We play, Jewish music from various cultures. We also create our own Jewish music. I'll give some examples of maybe of something in the style of Jewgrass, Jewish bluegrass, maybe a little bit later. But we'll play something purely Sephardic, that, or maybe purely klezmer, that's very hard. By the way, I want to introduce, is that David Gray back there? Yep. Stand up, David. He's featured in the film, klezmer, clarinetist extraordinaire. Great to see you. Maybe there are other musicians here, but we do. I think what we do, that when we create a mosaic of the world of Jewish musical culture in our concerts. So, if that's what you mean,
physical embodiment that could include songs, folk songs, Jewish folk songs.
Oh, like each other.
Oh. I had an answer until then. No, what I was thinking was that that music and visual art go together, and a real big example is like the fireworks on New Year's Eve, where they play music that goes with the fireworks. So what if there was some kind of way to play music that made you feel excited about things and putting things together, and then instead of having it be fabric and a real quilt, it could be like part of that film. If you remember, there was a part where it showed houses and flowers and baskets and all, and then it all came together into a grid. And that could be possible. That could be possible.
When you use the word mosaic, what conjured up in my mind, if you remember in the film, they showed the grit of the schedule, and I would stare at that for hours and hours, trying to get all the pieces pulled together so that the wrong things didn't overlap with each other, and that people who could only be there in the morning but not in the afternoon. And it was really like a very stressful, challenging jigsaw puzzle. But I think mosaic is a nice, a less stressful word to use. But it combined the arts and the music and the workshops and everything. And so in that regard, that grid that really presented the entire day was a mosaic.
I think we're going to do one more question. You have the mic, right?
Okay. You can relax. I just have 2 comments. No question. Mimi, I like to quilt too, and I've always thought that applique was just way too hard for me. And I really found looking at those quilts really inspirational, and will give it a good try to do some of that kind of stuff, which I thought was, I've never really seen them in person, but the film really gave a good feeling for what they're like. So thank you. And David, you mentioned in the film that a lot of the people would hear your group play, and then you wound up playing at weddings and bar mitzvahs. I just wanted to mention that we were one of the couples. We were one of many that heard you play, and you wound up playing at our wedding. And I just
It might have been the first one that we did. We experimented with it.
It's possible. It was 1986.
Oh, so what's the first?
The Washington Hill.
The what? Right.
We were the only event that day. But
Wow.
I was thinking maybe sometime you should organize a gathering for all the weddings and bar mitzvahs, and get the fiddlers back together and just have a big blowout.
If you'll help me, I'll do it.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I make one comment to Can I make a comment to David? When I was watching the film, this is what it brought back to me. I did not grow up Jewish. I had never met anyone who was Jewish in my 12 years of Catholic school. I had no idea, okay? When I went to college, one of my fondest memories is a young man who was Jewish. We were all just hanging out in a place in one of the buildings, and he taught us all to dance. And I will never, ever forget that. It was just really cool. Michael Sandler, that was his name. 50 years ago. Okay? No, more than 50, isn't it, Bob? We danced the hora. So, yay. It was a good memory.
I know. I loved what you did and your work, and also we did have quilters. At our folk arts festival. Yeah, and we have, of course. We can talk more later.
Okay. So I think are we wrapping up now? But Sure.
by you before I say a few words?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all so much for being up here. It was wonderful just to see all the connections that happen just in this space. And that's the power of the arts, right? It's so transformative. It's just a part of everything that we do, and it comes across in so many ways. And that's what's so exciting for me, and just being able to come here today as well. So thanks again to the folks at Docs. And
Just one more.
one more minute? Okay.
One more piece. Here's a question.
No,
Oh.
I would like to talk, I would like to say a few words on behalf of the organization.
Should we let him?
And then
I don't know.
and then we have the pleasure of listening to your performance. So my name is Gregory. I'm the chairman of the board of Docs in Progress, and I've been following this organization for the last 5 years, and I love it. I think it's a fabulous organization, and as we know, it's Docs in Progress, creating community through documentary. You are part of this process, and I want to thank you. I want to thank all the volunteers who have made this possible over the last 2 days, and tomorrow we have another day. We have seen 16 films, and all the films are local, and they're all fantastic. Everyone has a story to tell. I learned so much. You might hear from my accent that I was not born in the United States. I'm from the Netherlands, and it's fantastic to be part of a community. I want to thank the board members who were here. I want to thank former board members. I think we have Hugh there. And I want to thank you all for supporting our organization. I want to thank also Emily and her husband to come all the way from Baltimore. All the way, to be part of this wonderful community festival. We have a little announcement for tomorrow as well, because tomorrow in Tacoma Park Community Center, we have special tickets, don't we?
We have special tickets.
We have a VIP tickets for all of you. So we hope that you will come tomorrow as well. We found a sponsor, I think, who... Yeah, you want to say something about that? Yeah? Yep.
This is the difference between governance and ops.
Yeah.
It's been a long day, so pardon the bit of humor. So anyhow, tomorrow at 3:30 is a wonderful film called Happy Campers. Because of what has been happening around the world, frankly, we've been trying to figure out how to support people who have recently lost jobs, immigrants. We just didn't want to pick one demographic. We found a sponsor who remains anonymous, who underwrote the cost of the logistics at the Tacoma Park Community Centers. So that's why anyone who is here, if you go out, there's a code, a VIP code, sorry, Facebook Live. And we hope you will join us at 3:30 tomorrow. There is parking at Piney Branch Elementary.
Yeah. And of course, our organization cannot survive without your support. So if you think we add value to your life, and we do, we hope that you will keep us in mind when you do your donations to charities. It's really important, especially nowadays in sort of a new environment for organizations like ours, where I think it's really important that we maintain, our culture and give people a platform to celebrate their heritage, their culture, and their beliefs. That, Docs in Progress plays a very important role, more than ever. So thank you for that. And now we have party time.
So I don't know how long we have, but maybe just a couple of tunes. Is right? So I mentioned before Jewish bluegrass, Jewgrass. Okay. I wish our fiddler was here to really add the fiddle. So many of the songs that we do are based on verses from the Psalms. So this is from Psalm 92. Or Zarua, La Tzadik, light is sown for the just and joy for the upright in heart. And much of our music draws on, on verses that about peace, about justice. So I'd like to, and especially in our times, Or Zarua, light is sown for the just, and joy for the upright in heart. We've never done this together. Okay. Or Zarua la tzadik, Oishre lev simcha. 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 Simchu tzadikim b'Adonai, Simchu tzadikim b'Adonai, Ve'odu, ve'odu, ve'odu b'zecher kodsho. Or Zarua la tzadik, Oishre lev simcha. Zarua la tzadik, Oishre lev simcha, Oishre lev simcha. Thanks. This next one was written by Esther and Mike's sister-in-law, by Hannah Siegel, who grew up in Virginia and now lives Vancouver or on an island somewhere out there, someplace, and has given us a wealth of music. She's been here in the Washington. She's performed here, and this is, I think, very fitting. And we see how music also can elevate our spirit during. We ran and we do this. We've done this periodically, and for the first time since the pandemic, we reinvented our community's Hanukkah. Was a Hanukkah and Human Rights concert and coffee house. This one we called the Hanukkah Freedom Concert and Coffee House, held at one of the local synagogues. We expected, 2 days before there were 60 people that signed up. 160 people came out for the event, featuring different singers, musicians from around town. So. So song lifts the spirit and also helps give us direction. So here's you know what I'm doing? You're not sure? Okay. The words are in English. The translation is, and it'll come across, in the because we can also sing it in English. Be strong, and may we strengthen each other. Be strong, and not just let us, we will strengthen each other. So it's directed to the individual. Chazak, v'nitchazek. And D minor, yeah, okay. Chazak, v'nitchazek. Chazak, v'nitchazek. Chazak, v'nitchazek. V'nitchazek, chazak, v'nitchazek. Be strong, and strengthen each other. Be strong, and let us strengthen each other. Be strong, and strengthen each other. Be strong, and strengthen. That's it. Chazak, v'nitchazek. Chazak, v'nitchazek. Chazak, v'nitchazek. Chazak, v'nitchazek. Oh, be strong.
just do this. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. This was a wonderful way to end. All right, since we're all talking about people that we've met tonight that we haven't seen or talked to in decades, Jules and I, we can't remember where, but it was probably when I was at the National Academy of Sciences in the 80s, and Jules was at NIH, and I talked about how I got footage from him for the videos I was working on, and all right, folks, I'll date myself, and he supplied beta tape, beta SP tape. So, thank you, Jules. So thank you so much for coming. Please come and see us tomorrow at 3:30, and please just come back at Doc's. Thank you.